Good evening, and thank you for being with us this evening. I'm Moni Flores-Bauer with the League of Women Voters of Oakland. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We have two candidates with us this evening who are running for the office of Alameda County Superintendent of Public Education. They are Ms. Karen Monroe and Ms. Helen Foster. Welcome, candidates. Each candidate shall have 1.5 minutes for opening remarks. The order was determined by drawing lots, and audience questions will be screened to avoid duplication and personal attacks. The order of answering questions will be alternated, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. There will be no rebuttals. Following the question, each candidate shall be allowed 1 minute for a closing statement. The timekeepers we have here tonight will be signaling the candidates with color-coded signs, one for 30 seconds and another to stop. So now let's begin with our first candidate and an opening statement, and that will be from Ms. Karen Monroe.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here. I am the current Associate Superintendent of Education for Alameda County Office of Ed, and I'm a third-generation educator. My mother was a principal and a teacher in Berkeley Unified. My grandmother was a teacher in Oakland, and I have been a teacher and principal and school improvement grant coordinator in Oakland Unified. Also worked as chief academic officer for an organization called Seneca before coming to the Alameda County Office of Education, where I now serve as associate superintendent. There are 3 things that I'm focused on as I take office at ACOE. One being high-quality professional development. We've already made huge inroads towards helping districts implement the Common Core, make the transition to the smarter balanced assessments, and make the transition to LCAP as well through professional development of teachers and leaders. The second thing is pathways to and through school. So to meaning preschool, early learning, transitional kindergarten. Those are things we're focusing on now. And through school refers to career and college pathways. We're a partner in the College Pathways grant that runs along, has partners along the 880. And the third thing is partnerships with districts to ensure their fiscal viability, and now under the Local Control Accountability Plan, their academic viability as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Foster.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. This is very nice of you to be here, and I'm so proud that the League of Women Voters is doing this in Oakland. As a parent, teacher, and school principal and district administrator, my passion centers around the need for all students and employees who serve them. As a proven educational leader, I bring fresh ideas and determination to improving Alameda County Office of Education to become the premier county office of education in California. As superintendent, I will lead school districts in Alameda County into a new era. With the same administration for the last 16 years, ACOE has lost sight of its mission and purpose. Teachers, superintendents, administrators, classified employees, community leaders, and parents report a lack of outreach and leadership from ACOE. Our mission must be customer service and 21st century skills, including technology and high student achievement for all. I will assemble nationally recognized professional development for teachers and administrators and provide excellent fiscal oversight in a dynamic think tank environment that incubates state-of-the-art resources for Alameda County. It is past time for an administrative change at ACOE to an action-oriented administration. My vision is clear, collaborative, and inclusive. Cast your votes, please, with hundreds of teachers, parents, administrators, and community leaders across Alameda County to support me as your new progressive superintendent of schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our first question from the audience is for Ms. Monroe. Some people in Alameda County don't even know what the office or the superintendent of public education, what that role is. Can you tell us a little bit about that role and what the Office of Education does and how you would communicate that to more residents?
Well, one of the things that running for office allows you to do is to figure out how to communicate that to residents and voters. So one of the ways I do that is by using an acronym that is LEADS. So L stands for we provide leadership for key educational initiatives like Common Core. E stands for educates. So we educate the students in juvenile hall and the community schools, as well as some direct programs to the districts. A stands for advocacy. So a huge part of the county office's role is to advocate at Sacramento and, when appropriate, nationally, but certainly in a local sphere. D stands for development. That refers to the professional development we provide for teachers and leaders. And the S is for supports. So providing critical supports to districts, really partnering and engaging with districts is part of the way forward to make sure that we are providing, we're doing well with our oversight role.
Thank you very much. Ms. Foster, how would you tell residents about the role of the Office of Education?
I happen to be Director of Human Resources for Hayward Unified, which is exactly 2 blocks from the County Office of Education. And interestingly enough, there are a number of administrators at the district office in Hayward that say there has been no outreach from ACOE for years, and that they feel as though ACOE is always playing catch-up as opposed to being proactive and leading the way towards Common Core, towards LCAP, towards all of the various things that come down the pike for education. And that's a problem. So what is my solution to this? It's outreach. It's being proactive. It's making sure that we are doing something that is dynamic, that is cutting edge, and we're making sure that all superintendents to your para-educators and everybody in between knows what ACOE does and fulfills those roles. And the other thing is to find out what's needed. So making sure that we are testing the waters and finding out what is needed from ACOE to make it dynamic and make it worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question, Ms. Foster, to begin with you, is what are your views on the recently enacted legislation that puts limits on the reserves that the county can put on the school districts?
I'm somewhat ambivalent about it, and I'll tell you why. As far as making sure, first of all, the state of California and the financial risk that we are under in terms of being in a school district is very problematic, and it goes up and down, it's unpredictable, and so trying to limit the reserves is almost counterproductive in terms of what LCAP was trying to do. Local control is what we were told LCAP was going to be. The next thing you know, limits are being set on the amount of money that we are able to set aside. So I think that there's inconsistency coming from Sacramento. It makes it very difficult to run a district and run a county in a way that is fiscally sound. And it means being very, very conservative because we never know what the next move is going to be from Sacramento.
Thank you. Ms. Monroe.
I believe that for districts to have a sufficient amount of reserves, a healthy amount of reserves, is a good thing. Being able to be agile, adaptable, flexible as districts is important. I understand where some of the opposition is coming from to having a set amount dictated or a ceiling put on those reserves. But I actually think that districts need to be able to have reserves, particularly in light of the local control accountability plan, to ensure that they're able to meet the goals that they've set as a district. The local control accountability plan necessitates that districts are prioritizing particular groups of students, and districts get to choose exactly how they're doing that. They need to continue to report data on how effective they are at that, but they do need the flexibility to make those decisions, and having enough reserves to put the money where it's needed most is important.
Thank you very much. Ms. Monroe, question for you. In your role as Superintendent of Public Education, what would you do to help make county schools safer?
We actually currently have several programs that are focused on school safety, school climate, school culture, school safety. One of the things that I mentioned earlier is that we have the classrooms in juvenile hall and the classrooms in community schools. So safety is something we focus on quite a bit. One of the things that I value and will continue to advocate for are things like restorative justice training. I believe that having an effective and healthy school climate and culture is essential to addressing issues of discipline and violence. We've seen what particular rules have done. We have looked at the level of suspension and expulsion, and none of those things has been the answer. We believe that schools need to get smarter and more efficient about how to engage with students as individuals, how to engage with students where they are, and to help teachers and administrators to have programs that help students feel seen, heard, and served.
Thank you. Ms. Foster, as Superintendent of Public Education, what would you do in your role to ensure safer schools?
I will fight to heighten security. Thank you. I will fight to heighten security in schools across Alameda County, whether the threat is from gun violence such as Columbine or Sandy Hook, or from predatory adults where a mandated reporter missed an opportunity to report child abuse or neglect. I will enhance the training and application throughout Alameda County. I will spearhead the development of training videos with an online test to ensure that all public school employees are trained in mandated reporting and recognizing child abuse and neglect. In addition, I see a need for sexual harassment and bloodborne pathogen training videos for all employees, which to date are only available through several insurance brokers, and for many districts it's at a cost. I believe ACOE has a vested interest in providing these at low or no cost to educational institutions in Alameda County and at a profitable cost for schools, districts, city governments outside of the county. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from our audience, Ms. Foster, is what is your opinion of the Common Core standards? Do you think it will make a difference in district schools?
So my opinion of Common Core is that there is promise there. And the reason I say it is because I have a number of friends that are teachers across the United States who have already implemented Common Core as of 2 and 3 years ago. When I asked them about whether they felt that Common Core dumbs down the curriculum, the consistent answer was, it depends on the teacher. And that tells me that, okay, we need to make sure that teachers are well trained to deliver Common Core and to make sure that the engagement with the students is absolutely top notch. We, as far as actually having taught it is concerned, this is really our first year of rollout in California. But my belief is, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's see what other states that are way ahead of us are doing and try to head off problems that they have seen and make sure that we're doing it the best way possible for our students.
Ms. Monroe, what's your opinion on Common Core? Will it make a difference in district schools?
I think it's already making a difference in district schools. I think it's interesting, when I first started running for this office, the question was more like this: how do you feel about Common Core? And there's been a gradual shift to things like, do you believe in Common Core? I don't believe that Common Core is in any way subversive. I believe that it is a set of standards that is based on wanting excellence in our classrooms. What has often been problematic is that we're asking teachers to make a big leap without the support they need in some cases. So I see certain districts, many districts, recalibrating their implementation of Common Core to really think about where to start and biting off a smaller chunk. It is a large shift, and to date, there haven't been, it's not something you can teach and just open a textbook. It is about a way of teaching, not so much about the content of the instruction, which is important as well. So I do believe that they're an effective set of standards.
Thank you very much. Ms. Monroe, how will you get healthcare costs under control, especially for classified school employees?
So one of the things that we're doing that we've done recently is, because we've had negotiations with both of our two major bargaining units, is making sure actually that we are subsidizing health care to a larger extent. And in doing so, that means that our employees actually need to buy into the insurance that we're offering. That is not something that historically was advocated by the County Office of Ed, which made it difficult for us to ensure that our employees were benefiting from getting the most cost-effective health care. So while we don't have a way of keeping costs down per se for us, for our employees, bringing to scale the offerings, the packages, and making sure that we subsidize that cost is a way we can help defray that for both our major bargaining units.
Thank you. Ms. Foster, how would you control costs in terms of health care?
If you've visited my website, you know that I've proposed that the following. I will convene all district superintendents to discuss forming a united JPA to bring down healthcare costs. Fresno Unified, with 70,000 students, has had no healthcare cost increases since 2007 by shrewd negotiating based on economies of scale. We have 220,000 students in Alameda County, 3 times the size of Fresno Unified. With my leadership, we can bring healthcare costs down so that employees' paychecks go farther. This is a top priority of mine. And as a third-term school board member in San Lorenzo, I have to tell you that my heart breaks when a classified employee gets up at the podium and says, all I can do is work for my health care costs. I put no food on the table. I do not put a roof over my head because I don't make enough money to do that. And if I can help their check go farther by doing this, it's one of the first things I need to do.
Thank you. Ms. Foster, what can you tell us about your thoughts on how to prepare students for the challenging job market and also declining funds and opportunities for them to seek advanced education colleges?
Well, I don't know that things have changed that much in the last 20 years as far as the needs and our purpose in trying to make sure that kids are successful, all kids are successful. What I do know is that we do have a much clearer and cleaner way of communicating in terms of making sure that parents and students know what the opportunities are for helping students get to those opportunities and making sure that they take advantage of those opportunities. So making sure that that outreach is there, even if it means we phone bank. We have to make sure that the opportunities that are there are being taken advantage of by families and by students so that we can ensure that they are working when they get out of school, whether that's from high school or whether that's from 2-year or 4-year college, and that they that we can rest assured that we've done everything we can in our power to make sure that happens.
Ms. Monroe, what can you tell us on your thoughts on preparing students for a tough job market and limited funds for college?
So there is a lot of focus on college, pathways to college and career right now, and last January I started a division for pathways to college and career. It's small but growing. We have over 100 interns right now that we're employing in to have workforce development experience. I mentioned earlier that we were involved in the Career Pathways Trust Grant, which is from Hercules to Hayward. It's a $15 million grant that we have partners like Hayward Unified, Oakland Unified, the community colleges, as well as the workforce investment boards. This is a singular opportunity that is designed to articulate the pathway and align that pathway, clear it from K-12 through higher education. And we're involved in this at the deepest level. This is critical work, and it's something that we intend to see through and make sure we communicate this to students and families across the 2-county region.
Thank you very much. Ms. Monroe, an audience member would like to know, how important is it for the members of the Board of Directors from the Alameda County Office of Education to visit schools in order to learn about how well the curriculum and programs are meeting students' needs?
Well, it's always a great idea to visit schools. I just had an opportunity to do that today, and I encourage board members to do that, and most board members do visit schools, some of them more often than others because of many reasons. Some of them have jobs outside of their role on the board. I think it's critically important. I think if you're going to make decisions about what goes on in those districts or in support of those districts, that it's important to know the context. So visiting can only be helpful in that regard. And you are forming relationships with school staff as well as with parents and community, and it helps them to feel as though there's greater access to you as an elected official.
Thank you. Ms. Foster, how important is it for board members to visit schools to see if the curriculum is really meeting the students' needs?
I'm going to answer the question this way. A number of district superintendents across Alameda County no longer attend the monthly ACOE superintendents meeting, characterizing it as a waste of time. My vision is to make those meetings for superintendents, ed services, business, and human resources become focused, cutting-edge, best practices, and evolutionary think tanks for district leaders. Now, why do I say that, and how does that connect with the school board members? The fact is that no district is perfect in Alameda County or anywhere in the country. And that means that each district has really amazing things that they're doing. That's true of every district in Alameda County, but none of them are perfect. So the way that we need to make sure that we are sharing the wealth of what's happening in one district with another is to have those opportunities to get all of the players together, and let's go make a field trip. Let's go visit. Let's go see the DICE program in San Lorenzo. Let's go see another program in Oakland. Let's go see one in Fremont, and let's make sure that that information is being shared, and shared by the board members and by those of us that are in the business of making sure this happens correctly.
Thank you very much. Ms. Foster, if you had to make budget cuts in the operational budget for the Office of Education, how would you do that? What would I do? What would I cut? I want to keep it as far away from the students as I can, but the other thing that I have to say is that, you know, when you get onto an airline and the flight attendant says that when the oxygen mask drops down from the ceiling, who do you put that oxygen on first? You put it on the adult. And that reminds me, and should remind everybody, that if the adults are not sustained, then we can't expect miracles to happen in the classroom. So any cuts that I would consider making have to be kept away from those key students and those employees who have to serve those students to make sure that they are successful. Ms. Monroe, how would you make budget cuts if you were forced to have to do so in the Office of Education?
Well, obviously we are hopeful not to be forced to do that, but we have had to tighten our belt at several times, and that could obviously happen again. Right now we have a somewhat healthy reserve, which is there and actually designed to backfill for the somewhat transient nature of our programs. We're largely grant funded in many of our programs, and that allows us to be able to fill in the gaps when necessary. We also recently, it's been about 18 months now, have started a resource development division to help to diversify our funding. So as many of you know, we receive our Prop 98 funding, we receive money from particular grant sources, and we also want to expand that funding. Many county offices have great grant-funded programs, and we want to expand those connections, both in partnership and fiscally. So by diversifying our funding, it makes it less necessary to have to cut critical programs.
Thank you. Ms. Monroe, can you tell us some examples of activities that you've undertaken specifically to help children in need?
Yes. There are many programs I've undertaken in my career to do that. I'm not actually clear if the question is referring to in my current capacity, but I'll limit it to that for purposes of this conversation. So at the Alameda County Office of Education, we are now in the planning phases of starting a girls' classroom. I had a very respected scholar in this area come to me and talk about wanting to provide better outcomes for girls in juvenile hall. And one of my points of feedback was that our girls stay, all of our students stay from 7 to 21 days in juvenile hall. And that's not the place you're going to get the most traction. So what we talked about is the prospect of starting a community classroom for these girls in particular. And so we have gotten fairly far down the road. We're talking to partners about space that will include wraparound services and arts, and bringing to bear my experience working with this population at Seneca as well. Thank you.
Ms. Foster, can you tell us a few things, specific things that you've done to advocate for children in need?
Yes. In the last 10 years, for 6 of those years, I was principal of a middle school in the eastern part of this county. And it was a very high-functioning middle school. When I came in, the API, if everybody remembers what that is, was well over 800. But interestingly enough, I found that there were students that were in the far below and below basic categories, even though it was such a high-functioning school. So I decided to figure out what is wrong with this picture. So one of the things that I did is I worked with a reading specialist, and we decided to figure out, let's start with the 6th graders. What I did was I implemented a intensive reading intervention program for these students that in any other school would be far below basic, or below basic just as they were at this school. And over the course of 3 years, it is expanded from 6th to 7th to 8th grade to where by the time these 6th graders were getting out of middle school and going to high school, they were all proficient or advanced, and they'd come in reading at least 3 years below grade level. So to me, that's the place where the metal meets the road.
Thank you very much. And this is going to be our last question. I will begin with Ms. Foster. As Superintendent of Public Education, what would you do to encourage or foster more school health services?
Say that again, please.
What would you do to encourage more school health services?
Well, the school health services requires money. So one of the things as superintendent that I can do is I can advocate, I can make sure that we are writing grants, I can make sure that we are looking at every opportunity and leave no stone unturned to find those places such as the brand new Tiburcio Vasquez Health Center that just opened in San Leandro. There's one now in New Haven, there's one in Hayward. These are just exquisite new health facilities, and making sure that the word gets out. So it can't be just in English. It's got to be in Spanish. It's got to be in several other languages to make sure that those that need it are getting the health care that they need. And through the school is the best way to get that word out. So I would make sure that I am spearheading the advocacy and making sure that that word is, and the outreach is there, and that we're doing a good job of it.
Thank you. Ms. Monroe, what would you do to encourage health services?
So health services are hugely important in that they are linked to academic success. One of the things that we have at Alameda County Office of Ed and that I have been growing is a wellness division. We are the leader in the state for providing resources to after-school programs as well as school day programs around health and nutrition. We also have another program called Project EAT that educates students and their families as well as educators about nutrition and the link to nutrition and a growing brain and school success. So continuing those programs, growing those programs, and actually in this space that we're in with developing career pathways to make sure that young people understand the power of health careers. Oakland has a great health career pathway, and it's one of the pathways we're focusing on with this large grant.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to have the candidates make their closing statements, and this will be in the reverse order, beginning with Ms. Helen Foster.
I'd like to cover something that was not brought up so far, and that has to do with STEM achievement, science, technology, engineering, and math. I am a scientist and an engineer, and I know how important STEM achievement is. I will fight for funding and training for STEM across Alameda County by tapping government, public, and private sources with emphasis on student internships, technological support, STEM competitions, and university mentorships and collaboration. With universities, national labs, and many other STEM-related global leaders in Alameda County, I will secure enhanced funding for K-12 joint ventures with STEM providers around the Bay Area. I want students from Alameda County to be top competitors in international STEM competitions. My platform also includes dynamic, nationally recognized professional development in terms of STEM research. And I would like to see students from all over Oakland, Berkeley, north this whole Alameda County working with professors at Berkeley and other universities so that they have this high school experience that will certainly set them well to go to college.
Thank you both. We appreciate both our candidates. Oh,
may I make my closing
I'm
statement?
sorry, your closing statement, yes.
Thank you. Thanks again for having us here today. I feel like it's important to let you know the power of this office. You have heard things to the contrary, but we do convene the 18 superintendents, and 15 out of those 18 superintendents attend those meetings regularly. I just presented at a superintendent's retreat that 15 out of our 18 superintendents attended, including our Regional Occupational Center superintendents. We also convene the heads of curriculum instruction. We just had a meeting with 45 representatives from around the districts. And our professional development, we have greater requests than we can now accommodate, because we have really made sure that we're listening to and then building in to what districts need. We actually have a CSTEM program where we are supporting districts to teach math through robotics. We have an NSF, National Science Foundation grant that I've been working on that's focused on integrated middle school science and is award-winning for the curriculum that they're developing. There are many exciting and critical things going on at the Alameda County Office of Ed, and it's one reason why I decided to run for this office. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate our candidates being here with us this evening and our audience for asking good questions, and to our viewing audience for participating in this year's election. Good night.